UNC being linked to every single quarterback in the portal. And there's one specific thing that makes me a little concerned about that. I don't mind being linked to everybody before you have your guy. Once you make a decision that you have your guy, I think you kind of got to stop flirting. Georgia transfer quarterback Jaden Rashada plans to visit North Carolina Wednesday, according to CBS Sports reports. You probably remember Jaden Rashada as a guy that made big news during the draft process, the recruiting process, because he reportedly signed the first really big gargantuan NIL deal. $13 million was the number reported to play for Florida, and then that completely fell through, and he ended up at Arizona State, was there for a year, ended up at Georgia, was there. Now he's back in the portal, and he's reportedly going to visit UNC on Wednesday. So let me take you through what's happened since Bill Belichick has taken over, and I'm just talking quarterbacks. Bill Belichick took over. Big news, Bryce Baker keeping his commitment. Bryce Baker, the top 300 recruit quarterback in state, big dude, sticking around. Woo! Surprising news, Ryan Brown joins UNC out of the transfer portal from Purdue, a guy whose entire college resume is basically one really, really good game. Then there was a nice update. We got an update from Max Johnson, the injured starter from last year. He's on the way back. He's rehabbing. We saw a video with a montage. It was great. Then there was some surprising news. UNC was linked to Nico Iamaleava in the transfer portal. They even went as far on 247 Sports as giving him a crystal ball prediction to go to UNC. That ends up not being the case. That night, never mind, they're out. More surprising news. Ryan Brown, who joined from Purdue during the first transfer window, leaves UNC into the transfer portal and goes back to Purdue during the second transfer window. So he basically did like 3 months. He did a little semester abroad in Chapel Hill. Then there's good news. Gio Lopez signs with UNC out of the transfer portal. South Alabama transfer quarterback. A guy that was reportedly talking to LSU and Georgia and these other big schools. Cool. Then this confusing news. UNC is hosting Jaden Rashada on a visit this Wednesday. Now, I will say I am a former quarterback, so I might be sensitive to quarterbacks. But this ain't it. You don't keep bringing guys in and picking them seemingly, right? Like Gio Lopez is supposed to be making $2 million this year. You don't bring guys in and then keep flirting with everyone else. Once you pick a guy, you have some conviction. Now, if you haven't picked, right, if you're still open, if you're still exploring all options, talk to everybody. But if you have a guy whose confidence you care about because you might have to use him, you got to show confidence. Now, this is where I have to raise my hand and say, like, I know I could be biased, right? You got to put your biases on Front Street. So my first couple years in college playing at the University of Delaware, I sat behind a guy that was going to go play in the NFL. His name was Pat Devlin, started his career at Penn State, went on to play 3, 4, 5 years, something like that with the Dolphins. Mostly practice squad, but hey, good for him. And he was active enough that I want to say he got all the, 3 or 4 years. Anyway, sat behind him. That next year, I was hoping it was my turn to take over. I ended up being the starter that year. But that winter, they brought in Dane Christ. Some of you may remember him. He was a starter at Notre Dame and finished his career at Kansas playing for Charlie Weiss. But Dane Christ was brought in on a visit. And the coaches, I'm going like, you're going to try to take my job and give it to this guy? This guy that lost, he's got a knee brace on because he got hurt and he couldn't even keep playing at Notre Dame. No disrespect to Dan Chris. This was me, angry and competitive. And then they had the nerve to have one of my best friends host him on his recruiting visit, a wide receiver. And I'm going, that. I don't know if I ever forgave the coaches for it. Dan Chris didn't even pick us. He went to Kansas to play with Charlie Weiss. Right, grad transfer, and I don't know if it messed with my confidence. It definitely messed with my trust in the coaching staff. And guess what? I didn't have $2 million committed to me by the NIL collective. Gio Lopez. Once you bring him in, I think you have to show support in him. And if you're still searching, if you're still shopping, bring someone else in. This is where the ruthlessness of Bill Belichick, which I like at most positions, is different for college quarterback. Right? If there's a linebacker and you bring in competition for his starting job, you can linebacker harder. Right? You can work harder. You can hit harder. You can run faster. You can be more amped. Quarterback is about slowing down. It's about being calm. It's about not hesitating. Right? If you give a running back competition, right? You got a running back, you got a stud, right? Or Davion Goss, right? Their returning incumbent running back. They just signed Benjamin Hall from Michigan, an incoming transfer. You can look at Goss and say, yeah, he's coming for your job. And he can channel all of that anger, all of that competitiveness into running harder, into blocking harder, into hitting harder. You can't do that with quarterback. You can't. Confidence is way too important. And, as I've said many times, the difference between a completion, which could be a touchdown, and a tip ball interception, a lot of times is literally snap of the fingers amount of time. That's all it takes. So if you're sitting there getting ready to throw and you think they brought in that transfer, if I throw an interception here, then they're going to give him my job. And because of that, you go, just that one little, is it open? Is it? Rather than see it, throw it. It's see it, confirm it, throw it. It's too late. It's too late. Now, if they move on from Gio Lopez, which I don't know how in the world they would know already that they're moving on from Gio Lopez because they signed him like 48 hours before they're being linked to Jaden Rashada. But if they're moving on from him, then yeah, right? Like Ryan Brown seems to be like they brought him in, realized he wasn't the guy, went and recruited over him. That means you're open and searching. But if you bring in a guy and you want to throw him the keys to your franchise or your program, right? I'm talking pro because they like to call themselves the 33rd NFL team. If you bring in a guy and you want to give him the keys to your franchise, you got to give him the keys. And then you got to let him drive. And you can't be I don't know if everybody else did this. Graham, when you learned to drive, was one of your parents taught you, I assume?
Yes.
Did either of them smash the invisible brake?
Oh, yeah.
My mom, the passenger seat, like the floor right there, smashing the brake, like brake. You can't do that with a college quarterback. You can't be looking over their shoulder. You got to toss them the keys and say, be back by midnight and trust them to go bring it back in one piece. Because that's how you build confidence. And that's how the rest of the team sees the confidence in the player. So they're like, oh, coach trusts him. I should too. There's more there. We'll talk about it as the offseason goes along.